You're listening to Be Kind, Rewind with Tim Nydell, taking you back to when movies were actually good.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
When music wasn't auto-tuned. When TV only had a few channels. And now, here's your host, Tim Nydell.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Be Kind, Rewind with Tim Nydell, which is me, of course. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really means a lot. And if you're feeling up to it, I would like you to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Tim_Nydell. And you can find my website at timnydell.com. And of course, follow me on YouTube. I post new videos at least once a week. So I would appreciate the follows and subscribes. For today's episode of Be Kind Rewind, I'm taking you into the glimpse of my other show, Saturday Morning Rewind, where I interview people who were associated with cartoons that I grew up loving in the 80s and early 90s. And for this episode, I'm going to play for you my interview I did with Bettina Bush, who is the voice of Rainbow Brite. A cartoon that, even though I was a boy, in the early 80s, I still love Rainbow Brite. There's no shame in that, I don't think. But like I said, this interview was on my other show, Saturday Morning Rewind. I still do that show, so check that show out as well. But I guess that's about it. I'll leave you with my interview with Bettina Bush.
Welcome to Saturday Morning Rewind, a show dedicated to the love of animation and feeling like a kid again. Let's go back in time to when cats defended Third Earth.
Sword of omens, give me sight beyond sight.
A masked duck protected the streets of St. Canard.
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
And knowing was half the battle.
Yo, Joe!
Let's go back with Saturday Morning Rewind and your host, Tim Nydell.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Saturday Morning Rewind with your host, Tim Nydell. Of course, that's me. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Saturday Rewind, or my personal one is at Tim_Nydell. And as a kid from the 80s, there are many cartoons I can tell you that I adored watching. Transformers, Thundercats, He-Man. And there's one that you might not expect, and that one I'm talking about is Rainbow Brite, a cartoon that's kind of more geared towards girls, but I love that show, and I'm so happy to announce that I have the voice of Rainbow Brite herself, Bettina Bush.
Boy, you've got more questions than colors. Okay, I'm Rainbow Brite, and this is Twink, and you see, we're from Rainbow Land. Yes, we put all the color in the world.
And of course, she was also the voice of Lucy Little from The Littles, another favorite cartoon of mine as a kid.
Well, if you're sure, Henry, I guess it's time to play. Don't be afraid, Slick. It's just a game. You know we're always safe when we're with Henry.
She also voiced Megan on the original My Little Pony. She's the current voice of Gloria in all the Madagascar games. But of course, I want you all to head over to our website, Saturday Morning Rewind. Just type in SaturdayMorningRewind.com. Check out some of our past interviews on there. We've been doing this for 8 years strong. A lot of amazing voice actors have been on our show. If you want to help us out, we have a Patreon campaign going on. Of course, I want to thank Mike Clemens, Gemma Bright, Tori Garvin, and Dominic for helping us out for the month of June. I'm also here to announce our brand new clothing line called Rewind Wear. You can head on over to rewindwear.com or just SaturdayMorningRewind.com and click on the Rewind Wear tab there. You'll see all the shirts that we've designed over the years. We have the Saturday Morning Rewind shirts that we've designed. We have some of our own designs like Made in the 80s, Made in the 90s. A brand new one I just designed was Vote for Megatron for Global Domination. And if you're a fan of my YouTube stuff, I have some of my YouTube shirts on there. So keep Rewind Wear on your mind, and hopefully you guys check it out. And speaking of checking it out, thank you so much for checking out this episode. I cannot tell you how much I love this interview with Bettina. She is such an amazing talent and somebody I've been trying to get on the show for a little while now. And I just had an amazing time talking to her. She is so very talented. not only does she do voiceover, but she also does hosting, and she's also a singer. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know that as a kid, she sang as Rainbow Brite, but she actually has a musical career as an adult, and you can check out all of her stuff on her website, bettinabush.com. And yeah, so here she is. Here's my interview with Bettina Bush. All right, so thank you so much for coming on the show. I must say, I've been trying to get you on for a little bit, and so I'm super excited to talk about all the stuff you've done.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you started at a very early age, didn't you? Like 4?
Yeah, I was a little one when I started. We actually, my dad got a job in Hollywood at working at Max Factor. He was in finance, and I assumed that we were moving the family to Hollywood because I was supposed to be a star. And I was just, this little precocious kid, and so I told my parents I wanted to act and sing and be a performer, and they just kind of laughed and they're like, "Oh, that's so cute." And then I was very serious. And sure enough, we got a manager and an agent, and I just started booking jobs when I was little. My sister and I modeled when we were like 2 or 3 years old in New York, and then we moved to California. And I wanted to do the entertaining and performing. I wasn't really into the modeling.
Okay.
My sister did very well with that, but it wasn't my jam. So because they used to call me Motor Mouth. It was that kid. And payback comes back around because I've given birth to 2 of them.
Oh, so, no. Yes.
That is what it is.
Yep. My wife is a Motor Mouth as well, and we have 3 Motor Mouths that we spawned. So.
It's fantastic, though, because you get each other.
Yeah.
You understand where they're coming from.
Yep, exactly.
But anyway, so that was who I was. And so the agent started sending me out on commercials and TV shows and things. And I did a lot of on-camera work. But I was I was an advanced reader for my age. I was the youngest of 3. And so, the younger ones always tend to try to keep up with their older siblings. Yeah. So they do everything a little bit earlier.
Yep.
And so that's how I was. And so when people that I was working for realized that I could read so well, they were like, get her behind a microphone and have her do some voiceover. And so I did one voiceover commercial. It was for Payne Weber. And the person who was in the directing booth at the time, he took note of how well I took direction and how easily I read. And so he called me back in for The Littles. And yes. The Littles was the show that launched Deke, that along with Inspector Gadget and,
yep.
All of those 80s cartoons. And the man who was in the room happened to be Andy Hayward. And so, Andy Hayward is, as you know, is iconic.
Yeah.
Yep. And an amazing man, and I love him dearly. And he ended up casting me in as Lucy Little, and I absolutely fell in love with voiceover. And it was it's been a lifelong love affair ever since.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn to spot a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. I'm Paul George. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
example. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, but remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at fenixmedia.us.
So how old were you when you voiced Lucy?
So when I did Lucy, I believe I was 8.
Wow.
I think. Yeah. And she was just tons of fun. And I absolutely adored the idea of having set school and having, Donovan Freeberg, who was the original voice of Tom, and Jimmy Keegan, who I happened to sing with also in a different kids singing group. And he was a drummer. And so, having them together with me, and we were on set and then we were working, like, it was the best. It always blows my mind when people are like, oh, that's such a hard life for kids. Do you want your kid? For me, I would choose work over anything. Like, I remember there was a field trip to Disneyland that a bunch of kids were taking, and I chose work over that.
Oh my gosh.
It was okay. Well, either you can keep your job or you can, go do this. And we'll tell them that, this isn't how we're prioritizing right now. I was like, no, not even. Like, I loved to work, and I still do. So yeah, it was just who I am.
So you would just do schooling like behind the scenes there, like they do nowadays with the kids growing up in Hollywood?
Yeah, it was a little different then, I think, because there wasn't all the online schooling there is now. And so it was kind of the schools that whatever school you were attending didn't always get it.
Yeah.
The fact that you were going to be out 2 days a week. And, they're like, wait, what? You got an attendance grade back then. So they were like, that's not going to work for us. So I ended up bouncing around from school to school as my home base, because schools would kind of lose patience with the fact that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And even though I was a straight A student, and that was part of what my parents put on me, they always said, you can work and you can do whatever you want as long as your grades remain good. And so I always made sure that I knocked out whatever I needed to knock out and then some in those 3 hours that I was on set, so that I could focus on my character, my lines, and learning from the people that I worked with. Because the people that I worked with were incredible. I mean, I worked with Pat Fraley and Don Messick and Nancy Cartwright. And I mean, you name the biggest names in voiceover. And, I was this, 8 to 14 or 16 or whatever, my whole time growing up. These are the people that I was getting to get these master classes from, and a paycheck at the same time. It's like, what? That's insane.
Peter Cullen, Frank Welker. I mean, some of the biggest voice actors, some of them still working today. It would have been amazing. And I'm sure at that age, you probably weren't able to really appreciate it like you could today.
You know what? Exactly. Like, they always say youth is wasted on the young. You just don't know then what you know now. But looking back, I enjoyed them so much, and they were so generous with me, and they played with me, and they made it even, because I think that that brand of voiceover actor that came up that I got to work with in the 80s, they loved what they did so much, and they were gifted with this ability to play behind the microphone and just create characters on the spot. I mean, we would have people walk in and they wouldn't even know what 3 characters they were playing that day. They'd be given pictures and dialogue, and they just start jamming. They just start trying things out and deciding, and the director would be like, yeah, no, take it a little higher, do it a little, he's a little more sinister, whatever. And they give them direction, and they just bounce right into it. And to me as a child, it was just fun. It was fun to watch. It was cool to see. And it was, and they were very generous in explaining to me how they did it and what they did. And, and I was inquisitive too. So I would ask.
Well, of course, because you're Chatty Cathy over there, always asking questions.
And I wanted to be the best at what I was doing too. I mean, that's just, if you're not doing it the best, then why are you doing it at all? So I was kind of raised with that mentality of, if you're going to do it, you do it to the best of your ability. So I would learn, and that was like my teaching ground, and it was fantastic.
Now, whenever you would hang out with somebody your age, were they aware of who you were and that you voiced the Saturday morning character on, cartoon character? Did people know who you were that were your age?
That's funny that you say that. So that was, that varied throughout the course of my life. I was raised to be very humble and to not talk about it. I never led with it. And to this day, people will say to me, how have I known you this long and not known these things about you? Because I was taught not to talk about myself. It's funny because I took my daughter to go see Michelle Obama's Becoming tour.
Okay.
And she was talking about how her mom used to always be like, oh, you're not all that, even when she's first lady, you're not all that, keep it humble, keep it real. And I think that that's almost a cultural thing. Like, I was just raised that you don't talk about yourself, and you don't brag about yourself. And yes, you do this, but that's just your job, and you're a kid, and you go back to school and you do what you do. So people who weren't other working kids didn't always know that about me.
Yeah.
What would happen was, though, when I was at school and I would have to keep disappearing, people would
the question
have to be told where I was and what I was doing. So then it would become a thing. And some kids thought it was really cool and great, and other kids became, jealous and it
bullies probably.
Yeah, and bullies, and it wasn't cool. And so, I found that it was just easier if people didn't know. If I could just avoid people knowing, it was just easier.
Yeah, exactly. I must say that The Littles, one of my favorite early childhood cartoons. I think I was 4 or 5 when it came out, and I always wanted to be a Little when I was a kid. I used to even pretend to be Tom Little. I used to I forget what I used to do, but my brother and I would just pretend to be Littles, making little sets up with combs or whatever. So I love that cartoon.
Oh, it was so great, and it was so well written, and it actually attempted to tackle some pretty deep.
It did, yeah. I was rewatching the first couple episodes the other night, and they're pretty dark.
Yeah, they were trying to. Well, because you had a lot of shows on at that time that were kind of glorified commercials.
Yeah. Yep.
They were based around like a toy, and that was not Andy's jam. And he was trying to make a bigger impact than that. And so, he went there with the Littles, and it was pretty fabulous.
Tell me a little bit about Lucy. What was it like voicing Lucy?
So Lucy was always just so much fun. I remember when I walked in, and our director was Wally Burr, and I walked into the studio. You walked up this flight of stairs, and his studio was up on the second floor. It was in Studio City on Ventura Boulevard, and he handed me the picture of her, and he said, "This is the character that you're going to play," and she's this tiny little person, and he said, "But read the description and then come in." And so I read the description, and I understood who she was, and I went in to read, and it was funny because my mom remembers it the same way I do, and usually that doesn't happen when you're a child versus an adult. Yep. But I remember looking in the booth and seeing the people in the booth look at each other as though And that's what she's supposed to sound like.
Wow.
It was just a perfect marriage of actress and character. And it just worked out that way. And because I just loved her and I got her. And, I was the little sister too, and in my family. And so, I had a brother and I understood that interaction, because a lot of what they wanted to get across was that family relationship, and that she was spunky and adventurous and, and would do anything that Tom would do, and so that, I got her. And it was just an instant click. But yeah, I think my favorite thing about her was the fact that she was just so willing to try and do things. And, that made her fun to play.
Yep, awesome. How did you get involved with Rainbow Brite?
So, same group of people. Yep. I didn't even audition for Rainbow Brite.
Oh, wow.
I was at a session for the littles, and they handed me a picture of Rainbow Brite. And they said, "What do you think of this character?" And I said, "Oh my God, she's so cute." And they knew already that I loved rainbows.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, she lives in Rainbow Land. And they're like telling me I love Rainbow.
It was made for you.
It was like, oh my God, she's incredible. And so I just started, reading the copy and like getting into her. And I'm like, wait, so there are color kids and there are sprites and what? And it was just, to me, like the most fantabulous gift I could ever be given. So I was just so excited. And she just, it was love at first sight. And she never, I loved playing Rainbow Brite.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And I must say, it's another cartoon. Even though I'm a guy, you probably get this quite a bit. I love that cartoon. I even played with the toys. I played with the toys as a boy.
I see, that's awesome to hear, because I have a lot of guy friends who say that, and I get a lot of emails from guys. And I, usually the emails that I get from the guys are about, they loved the movie.
Yep.
That the movie resonated with guys because they brought in David Mendenhall and, and that character and Stormy, and, it was, kind of an expansion on everything. But the Rainbow Brite and the Get Along Gang, the Get Along Gang was also a Deke show, and I played Dottie Dog on that. For me, the way that those memories have a through line is because Scott Manville, he's a lifelong friend, and I adore and respect him and his wife and his family immensely. He's just one of the good guys. And I defy you to find anyone to say anything bad about that man. He is just incredible. And I had the gift of growing up in set school with him and being able to have so much fun bouncing off of him, and and our moms got along, because the moms have to sit there all day. And his mom was lovely. And that, for me, my memories of Rainbow Brite and of the Get Along Gang are me and Scott just having a really great time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love Scott's work too. And you guys, like you said, you guys are the same age. It's just perfect.
Right. And my kids are giant fans of his. We went to the Teen Titans to the movies premiere, and the kids, they're just like, I love you so much.
It's crazy how he's had these like two different, if you look at it, it's like two different careers, the childhood career and now the adult career.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it couldn't happen to a better person.
Yep, I agree. Great guy.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go. Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What? Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No. Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this. To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. Cool. Very cool. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
The most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead. Some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
That'll be $73.11.
Do you have a charity that I can donate a buck to?
You just did.
But I didn't select any option.
It happened just by using your credit card. We recently changed our payment processing to Gratis Gives, who not only saves our company a ton of money on processing fees, but also donates a portion of every purchase to a participating local nonprofit.
Why doesn't every business do that?
If they switch to Gratis Gives like we did, they can.
Achieve real social change by contacting Gratis Gives at 855-464-7284 or online at gratisgives.com.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media, the future of broadcasting. Listen live at fenixmedia.us.
So what did they tell you they were looking for when it came to voicing Rainbow?
Rainbow Brite, they said, okay, she's not Lucy Little. She runs the show. Like, she is in charge. There's an element of, of royalty with her. And so you really have to take charge and be the boss. And, and you've got all these people who answer to you, and you have a huge sense of responsibility. And so I needed to come to her with that in mind. And that was really key. And so she needed to come from a bit of a, my voice didn't have a ton of depth at that time, but the depth that I had to come out. And so we would do like exercises before we would hit the mic, because as I would start to get excited and she would start to do things that were, elevated in their intensity, my voice would start to get higher and more into the Lucy Little range. And so we would stop and I would breathe and I would get my voice back into the register it needed to be in, and then we'd keep going. And Marcia Goodman, who I can't, again, like I could gush about all these people forever, but Marcia Goodman was amazing and making sure that I kept her where she needed to be, and that I stayed in character and really, led that group of characters and, understood the gravity of who Rainbow Brite was to the world. So that was the intensity of her. And that was hard to accomplish, I think, especially in the movie, because everything prior to the movie was so, the episodes were so short.
Yep.
There was so much going on. But with the movie, that was a great challenge for me, and I really loved it.
Tell me the differences between the movie and the animated series when it came to at least recording. What were the big differences?
So when it came to the show, we just, we would get our script the night before, and then we'd come in and, we'd all sit around. We'd go to school, we'd sit around the mics, we'd do a rehearsal run, and then we'd go to lunch, and then we'd come back and we'd do the recording. And everybody was in the room, and, and sometimes there were scheduling conflicts, so some people couldn't be in the room. But for the most part, back then, they had everybody in the room. And I loved to work like that. That was my favorite way to work. But, we had it down to a science. Like, it was this many hours for this many hours for that. Like, everything worked on a schedule, and it was super predictable. and easy to fall into the character and the cast and the give and take of the ensemble. With the movie, it was, new people, more moving parts, and a different schedule. And you had to be conscious of the fact that this was on a big screen. It was different. There was more to visualize. There was more to understand, and the pace was different. And a lot of the times, the whole cast wasn't in the room because it was recorded more like a movie, a shot, with different people coming in and out as needed. And that was a really new experience. I liked it. I enjoyed it. But I think I liked the pace of the series more, but I liked the opportunity to change it up that the movie brought. And then we actually had a premiere and everything too on the Paramount lot, which was really cool.
I was going to ask you,
I'd never had that experience before, and that was really amazing.
So red carpet and everything?
Yeah, I mean, it was like they didn't have, back then it was like, it was more, it wasn't so much like paparazzi and all of that. It was more like, the one-on-one interviews and, the camera crews. It was really fun. I didn't really ever I wasn't ever into like the fame and the stardom part of what was going on. I preferred that just the work. Mm-hmm. And so to have a night that was all about that was a little bit jarring for me, but it was really fun. Like I dug it.
At what age are we talking about now? What age would you be during the premiere?
I would say I must have been 13 or 14.
Okay. Wow. So that's a pretty big jump between the littles and Rainbow Brite, the movie.
Yeah, it all kind of, and then and during that same period of time, there was I had My Little Pony.
Yep.
And that was, that I remember auditioning for that on not only my birthday, but the day that the Challenger blew up.
Oh my gosh.
It was like one heck of a day.
Wow.
And I remember going in to read for it and them having me and them just saying, sing a song. And I sang, I said, well, what do you want me to sing? And they said, why don't you sing Just Tomorrow from Annie? And I sang that. And they said, okay, well, this is, this show is a different format. These people had all worked with me before. Ginny McSwain was the director, and Ginny directed me on other things. And she said, the format is different. This is 65 episodes. They're each, what you're used to as a half episode, and each you have to learn a song. And I was like, oh my God, sign me up. That sounds like so much fun. What? It's a lot of work. But I thought, oh my God, this sounds amazing. And it was so cool. And that was where I got the gift to Charlie Adler.
Oh my gosh, Charlie. What would that be like as a kid? I know he can be pretty crazy.
We live in the same neighborhood, and so we still see each other all the time. And I mean, that energy level, that creativity, I mean, you can't bottle what Charlie Adler brings to the table. He is just a one of a kind and so phenomenal. And I would look forward to going to work just with Charlie.
Was he able to keep it kind of at least PG-13-ish around you?
No, and I mean, I say no, but looking back, he held back a lot. He tried.
Yep.
But, I had an older brother. And, I grew up around adults working. So, there was an element of, I get, but I was also an extremely innocent person. And so I would understand some things. They wouldn't fly over my head. I would just kind of pretend like, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I had him on the show. I think it was like maybe 5 years ago. I love him to death. And before the show started, he's like, Tim, this is a family-friendly show. I said, yeah. He's like, all right, I'm going to control myself. But then like halfway through, he's like, Tim, I got to let some of it out. So I let him talk, and I censored it out.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And that's one of those people who's just so authentic and he's not even able to be fake. He doesn't even, it does not even in his head. And nobody wants him to be, his authentic self is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
He's another one that I learned a truckload from. I mean, he just his technique and his ability to, he's someone who understood, yes, you let it all loose and you be that creative genius that you can be, but you also have to, hit your timing, hit your mark, be on the right place on the microphone, be respectful of, the slates and all of that, and not jump on other people. And he was always so good at it and such a consummate professional, as was Nancy Cartwright. She was like that too. And, watching them in those preteen years that I was in, and teen years, like that was really something to look up to and something to learn from.
Do you ever show your kids your old cartoons?
Yeah. It's so funny because they ask for it, so I have to go backwards because one of the reasons that I get a lot of outreach from people online is the Rainbow Brite records and the music. People absolutely loved those 2 albums. And I don't think I was aware of how popular they were until email came around. And all of a sudden I started getting emails from people from all over the world, from all walks of life, men and women, talking about those albums. And that's kind of a funny story too, because when I played Rainbow Brite, they didn't know that I could sing. They had no idea that I could sing. And they had auditioned a bunch of girls to be the singing voice of Rainbow Brite for those records, and never had mentioned it to me or my agent or anybody. And I guess they weren't finding what they wanted to find. And so we were in the studio one day, and I'll never forget it. They said to me just out of nowhere, they're like, "Can you just sing a song?" I was like, "What?" They're like, "Can you just sing a song?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so I sang a song from Sound of Music or something. I don't even remember what I sang. And as soon as I finished the last note, they were like, "So we're making a couple albums and Rainbow Brite sings. And so we're going to have to connect you to, we're going to book you for all of that." And I'm like, "Oh, how fun." And so those 2 albums got made and I sang them. But the story very well could have been that I was only the speaking voice of Rainbow Brite, and I was never, the person who did the albums. And I'm so thankful that they didn't find who they needed and gave me the opportunity, because the impact that those albums have had on people, I had no idea the measure of that. And I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to bring, that kind of joy and a lot of comfort to a lot of kids.
Yep.
Who really snuggled up with those albums, and when they were having hard times, listened to those songs, and to this day have said, whenever I hear your voice, it calms me. And that just, to be able to do that for someone and not even realize that that's what you've done is a true gift.
Oh yeah.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti.
You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me. But I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media, the future of broadcasting. Explore more great shows at fenixmedia.us.
So I was going through your website the other day, and my gosh, what don't you do? I mean, you host, you do the singing. Do you have any other upcoming albums coming out?
It's been such an evolution. It's so funny because I've always been the kind of person, as you can tell from my story, and as it continues, I've always just kind of followed what has been laid out for me, and be prepared for opportunities, but I don't try to. I just kind of let things unfold, and that's what has happened, and that's why I now do what I do, because when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was approached to host Parenting Magazine Live, and I had never even thought about being an interviewer or doing a radio show or anything like that, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And at the same time, it was able to feed my thirst for knowledge as a mom.
Yeah.
And so I became very passionate about it and didn't realize that I was going to become so passionate about it. And that, that leads to all these, as you look at my website, all these other things that I do that are just innate in who I am and have just been a proper organic evolution of who I am. And it's funny that you talk about the music, because during COVID-19, when everybody's been, stuck in their houses and everything, my husband keeps joking about the fact that I inadvertently got put in a band and didn't even know that I was being put in a band. Because what started out as, just a friend in the neighborhood who's an amazing musician saying, let's just sit in the backyard 6 feet apart and do some socially distant jams and sing. And so, we have done that and have been doing that. And, then, a percussionist comes and wants to jam with us. And, a keyboardist wants to come and jam with us. And then all of a sudden, my husband's like, you realize you're in a band, right? And I'm like, am I? It's like, I think you are. And, it's so funny to me. But, when you are someone who is artistic and musical and you act and you do the things that I have always done my whole life, it never really stops. It's just something that continues to express itself in different ways and find different outlets. And like with my kids, so I host a show, for people who don't know, I host a show called the Motherhood Corner. I've hosted Working Mother Radio and Parenting Magazine Live, and the Motherhood Corner is a show that gives parents tools to parent, basically, in very short bites. And that came out of my work as the editor-at-large of Working Mother Magazine, and it's been so much fun. But what happened was my kids, as you have been able to discern, I'm sure, have the ham bone, and they are, they love to be on camera, and they're talented and outgoing, and they, never met an audience or microphone they didn't like. And so, so we put them in a couple episodes of the Motherhood Corner, and they loved it. And some other people saw that. Hi, I'm at my nephew's house, and his baby just woke up. And so what happened was someone saw them on an episode of Motherhood Corner and asked if I would be interested in developing a show around them.
Wow.
So they've got a show in development, and they're so much fun. They're amazing kids. But then they ended up making, we had to do a theme song for the show. So they end up singing a theme song, and and I'm always writing and recording. And then they're like, well, we're thinking about maybe doing like some music for the show. And so we start writing together, and it all just organically kind of unfolds. And I'm just having the time of my life, enjoying that process.
Yeah. And spending time with your kids, which is awesome.
Yeah. And voiceover is such a great medium for that. It's such an easy way to do that, hosting shows and making videos and still doing, the commercials and all that. I mean, I'm sure that McDonald's commercials that I've done over the years, and, I can't even count how many of those I've done. I remember one morning I did 45 commercials in one morning.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, Jesus, like, you just like, you look back and you talk to people about these things, and until you're telling it back to someone else, it's just your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So to clear it up, you are the ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it.
Yes.
Wow.
So I started doing that in 2003. And that just spiraled into just a bazillion commercials over the course of, however many years, and just so much fun. Again, people working with great people, and the people at the advertising agencies are just so kind and sweet, and continue to call on you, and you just come in and enjoy and go home. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. So what do you do when you have free time? Do you do anything spectacular or just rest?
Let's see. What do I do with free time? I love spending time with my kids. Yep. And, we do a lot of hiking and biking and swimming, and we play a lot. I volunteer. I do a lot. We do a lot of volunteer work. My dad has in memory of my dad, there's a library at my kids' elementary school. And, so I volunteer on the Parents Association, and we do community service. I'm a Girl Scout troop leader.
Wow.
I think those things are important. I want my kids to be grounded. It's hard when you're growing up in LA to, you have to make a priority of making sure your kids are grounded.
Yep.
And so, you search out ways to do that. And for me, part of it is I've always been a lead by example kind of person. And so, they need to see my work ethic. They need to see that I give back to the community. They need to, watch it in action in order to feel like it should be a priority in their lives. So that's what I do.
I'm glad you mentioned your dad. I was reading about him last night. My gosh, he's inspiration. I mean, we need more people like him now, especially today.
Thank you. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I'm trying to carry on the legacy to the best of my ability in a lot of different ways. So my dad, for those who don't know, my dad was the first Black page to serve on Capitol Hill under the Supreme Court following the Brown versus Board of Education desegregation of schools order. And he served under Justice Earl Warren, who is, an amazing person to have been able to learn from. And he also served as the first Black graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. And he went on to get degrees from Harvard Business School and Georgetown, and really championed diversity in the military. And he was an incredible inspiration. He also was a great dad and was married for 50 years to my mom.
Wow.
Passed away 2 months before their 50th anniversary. And he just was someone who really taught us a work ethic, taught us, like I said, if you're not going to do it to the best of your ability, don't do it. And helped us understand what needs to happen in order to manifest change. And I think right now that's something that people are trying to figure out. Yeah. And, his catchphrase was, diversity is a leadership issue. And I think that speaks volumes because, especially right now, when you look at, change comes from the top down in companies and schools and, in any group situation. And when you have leadership who believes in, celebrating diversity and celebrating, who people are and what they bring to the table, then that helps to champion change in a positive manner. And so that's what we need to look for. And that's what we need to drive forward for.
Absolutely.
In whatever way we can contribute to that.
Yeah, even if it's just yourself doing one little thing, if everybody does one little thing, it can change so much.
Yep, you're the leadership in your own life and in your your relationships and in your families, and that's how it all works.
Absolutely.
So that's what we try to push forward.
Absolutely. All right, Bettina, I don't want to keep you much longer, but do you have anything coming up or anything you want to promote or anything?
Oh, anything to promote. So watch for my kids. You'll see them soon. I can't really talk too much about their projects, but they, Cassie and Jesse Bush, and they are, they're such fun, and you'll see them on my Instagram page, and we'll do announcements and stuff. You can see me on Instagram at Bettina Bush Official. I've been a little quiet lately because I've been trying to focus on family during the COVID time, and so I haven't been doing a lot of posting, but that will change. So go ahead and follow me, and you'll start to see a lot of things pop up. And gosh, what else? Just, stay in touch. Keep looking out for what I'm up to, because I always have something, fun going on and something that I'm trying to accomplish and bring out to everybody. So just keep an eye out and, listen for me. I'm still all over the place. You can still hear me on the radio. You can see, if you listen, I still do the voice matches for Jada Pinkett Smith for Madagascar and, Gloria the Hippo and I'm still on the commercials and things that you hear in your car and the radio. So just listen for me.
Awesome. Bettina, thank you again. Big fan of your work. I had an amazing time. Thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you. And I'm grateful for every single fan on the planet and anybody who wants to spend any time, letting me know that, they appreciate my work. I thank you because you make it so much better and you enhance my life. So thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Saturday Morning Rewind. Please check them out on Facebook and Twitter. And that's all, folks.